Hey everybody, I am just here. I'm going to do a live reading, or a reading. I guess readings are live when you do them, from the book Notes on a Banana, but I'm going to wait until a few people find this and then we can start. I hope you all saw the notification on Facebook and also Twitter. We've got 6 people, okay. Hey Marcia, I'm going to do my best to say hello. Hey Jamie Proviance. As before we start, hey Jenny Field, thank you for sharing. So live views, there's all these new things going on. I don't know what this is. Hey Molly Mills, you haven't heard me read from this, but you were there at my launch. Thank you. Hey Lori, we have 12. We have Jenny. Wow, we have a lot already. I'm going to wait a little bit, just a minute or so, maybe not even a minute. So therefore we can, I can begin, and then we can have a little talk. You guys can certainly ask questions while I'm reading or have comments. That's fine. I'd love to see that. I may not be able to answer them until this is posted, and then I go back and I look at it. Okay? Of course, afterwards, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have. That's perfect. Okay, hi, Michelle. Oh, God, we're doing 16. Okay, hey, Roy. Okay, so I am going to start because we're getting there. Hey, good. I'm so glad you're excited, Jennifer, because I certainly am too. I'm going to read the chapter. It's a short chapter, so don't really freak out, called What Becomes a Legend Most, and it's chapter 3. Okay, I will. Roy says, read the good part. I'm going to. Good parts, I will. So, chapter 3, What Becomes a Legend Most. It's going to be so weird because I'm not going to hear any laughter. My mother is a bloodhound for Jesus. She can sniff out sin before it happens, the way some people can smell burnt toast before a seizure. Legend goes, I was about 6 years old and sitting on the kitchen chair, banging my shoes on its chrome legs like clappers on a bell. For more than an hour, my mother and I had been in a standoff over the cold bowl of Portuguese kale soup sitting in front of me. I had my head down, avoiding her gaze. I knew she could tell I'd been sitting silently, breaking the commandment about honoring your parents, because I'd been wishing every horrible, mean, hateful thing I could dream up would happen to her. My face didn't slide off into my bowl, so I took that as a sign from God that I was on the side of the righteous. She slid her hand into my field of vision and rapped her index finger on the table. Tack, tack, tack. I ignored it, so she inched it closer and rapped harder. Tack, tack, tack. I looked over at my grandmother, who had begun to worry the last bits of her Portuguese bread into little white rosary beads. Tack, tack, tack. What? Are you going to eat or not? I stared at her. Well, Elvira, my father said low, a junkyard dog trying to warn off an intruder. It could have been the slimy texture of the greens, or maybe I overheard someone say that despicable word, Portuguese, when referring to our food, making it sound not much better than eating swill. Whatever the cause, I turned up my nose at it. I longed to eat things like hamburgers on buns that looked like tan mittens, and chocolate cake with swirls of Betty Crocker chocolate frosting, a bottle of cold milk alongside. My last name means milk in Portuguese. It seemed my birthright. Chocolate layer cake with a glass of cold milk that's so cold that it makes your throat hurt is so iconically American that it's even called American-style cake. I wanted to be American by consumption. I could outlast my mother. I knew it, and so did she. I'd done it before with stalemates in just about every store we shopped in, and with staring matches behind my father's back in church, as she tried to get me to stop reading from the as she tried to get me to stop yammering as I pretended to read aloud the prayers in the missal. For the last time, eat your soup. I looked at her and prayed for a lightning bolt to pin her to the floor. Querido, coma, said my grandmother concerned. Sweetheart, eat. Oh, Mama, if he doesn't want to eat, he doesn't have to. she said to my grandmother, then turned to me. Right, baby? Her voice was suddenly filled with the warmth of my favorite TV moms. She yanked my bowl away. I had thrust both fists out to my father as a sign of yet another victory when I felt a thunk on my head. Cold broth beaded my eyelashes. Potatoes plopped into my lap, and slippery greens hugged my face as they slid down and over my cheeks. My father looked like a goldfish that had fallen on the floor, all goggled eyes, his mouth bobbing open and closed. My grandmother stopped mid-bead. I was stunned. The first convulsions of a howl shuddered in my belly, and I looked up at my mother. One hand was on her forehead, the other on her hip. She was clearly the most shocked of us all. But then a caterpillar of a smile started to wriggle across her face. Well, I stood up and looked pointedly at all three of them. I think I'll go to my room now, I said. I turned, bowl balancing on my head, and walked across the kitchen to my room. Behind closed doors, I clamped my hand over my mouth to prevent my sniggers from curling themselves under the door and into the kitchen. But there was no need, because they never would have heard it over their own laughter. Good night, son, my father said later that evening, tucking me into bed, my hair still damp from my bath. My mother came in, as she always did, and sat on my bed as I said my prayers. When I was done, she leaned over and kissed me. He too. Mom Bass, Dad Bass, God bless you, they said in unison. And just before she turned out the light, she said, we okay? I nodded vigorously, and we were. It was our way. In the dark of my room, I tuned into the television show in my head, the program already in progress. Yep, right on my head, I say, as I sit in the guest chair in the Mike Douglas show, my legs too short to reach the floor. Mike's snorting so hard he can hardly speak. I didn't give in, though. Nope, not me. Is this kid something? He says, clapping and motioning the audience to join in. They erupt. But you're still there. There was a call coming in. I'm so sorry. Let me try that again. I didn't give in, though. Not me. Is this kid something? He says, clapping, motioning the audience to join in. They erupt, a riot of applause. He tells me to move over one seat to make room for Toadie Fields. She thunders on like a sumo wrestler. I put my hand out to greet her, but she grabs me and buries me into her chest. You're so freaking adorable. After she squeezes herself into her chair, she says, let me tell you something, kid. If they ever make a movie of your life, I gotta play that mother of yours. She's a real spark plug, that one. Spark plug, firecracker, loose cannon. You name it, she's been called them all. Some Azorians have a word for it. Veneta. It's hard to translate exactly because it's slang, but it's this indomitable force of nature that you damn well want on your side. It's a capricious temper, an irrational obsession, a fierce determination that uncoils through some families and detonates every so often. Some members have it, others don't. My mother does, and so do I. My father, not so much. Well, let me take that back. Aggravate him long enough, or threaten us in any way, and he could come out swinging. But his Veneta was always provoked, unlike my mother's and mine, which were, at best, unpredictable. With just a look, she could wither cashiers to a stump and cow bank presidents. It was a superpower, like being able to command the wind or bend forks with your mind. There was that time that we were driving home, There was that time we were driving home on the highway in the old tan Pontiac, and some guy cut in front of us. You son of a... She screamed at taillights that were getting smaller and smaller by the second. She gunned the car and weaved in and out of evening traffic until she caught up to him, and then she turned the wheel hard. There was a chorus of squealing brakes behind us. How does it feel, you sucker? She said into the rearview mirror. We were delirious with victory. And when he came up alongside us and leaned on his horn, she just waved him off like a queen, and took the next exit home. Vineta was often whipped out of her holster in the name of child rearing. One afternoon, I ran into the house with my first spelling quiz, shaking it over my head like a pom-pom. "Look, Ma," I said proudly. She laughed as she smoothed the paper against the table. I looked at her face and then down at the quiz filled with my oversized scrawl, then back up to her, just waiting for it. "You got a 40. "I know, a 40, I whispered, drawing out the word. "Well, Banana, that's failing." I could feel low, cold clouds swirling around her. Failing? Failing. I searched her eyes for a hint of a joke. There was none. Failing? Mrs. Conforti, my first grade teacher, hadn't explained that my grade was 40 out of 100, a number my father was still helping me count to. "Go," she said, nudging her chin toward my room. I knew better than to argue. After dinner, I watched the circle of light from my Jesus candle flicker on the ceiling and heard my parents shouting. "Well, not my kid, Manny," she said, "not my kid." The next morning when I got to the table, a small box was sitting on my plate. "Open it up," my mother said, her voice all honey again. I looked at my father, then back at her. I didn't like surprises. I pulled off the top. Inside was a pile of what looked like large confetti cut from manila folders. On each was a block letter in my mother's handwriting. "We're going to sit here every day after school until you spell like a champ," she said, banging her finger on the table for emphasis. Tack, tack, tack. And every day was a test of wills, with me refusing, her demanding. It wasn't fun, it wasn't easy, and it sure as hell wasn't what I wanted to be doing with my afternoons. Bottom line, I'm one damn good speller. Sometimes her Vineta was an impulsive ballsiness. The day my godfather was giving rides on his motorcycle, for example, now this is when my mom was still very heavy, she suddenly grabbed the hem of her dress, wadded it up in front of her, and hooked one leg over the back of the seat. "Ellie, get your ass off of that thing," Joanne, our neighbor, brayed in her smoker's voice, her cigarette jabbing in my mother's direction. Mercifully, my mother's reply was drowned out by the muffler. The neighborhood huddled on the sidewalk and watched them go the few blocks down Brownell to the river, turn around, and pause. All of us were silent, just waiting to see what would happen. The bike lurched, and a ripping sound followed like thunder after lightning. They flew up the street, my mother honking with laughter, her head tossed back, her mouth open so wide, I swear I could see her fillings. So that is chapter 3. I don't know if any of you have left comments or have any questions. I have this thing so jerry-rigged, so I think I can see that. Do I don't know. Did anyone leave any comments? I see lots of likes, and there's 36 people on. Anyone have any comments? Do I have to do something? I have this so jerry-rigged, maybe I can't see. Oh, that's writing a comment. So that's it. That's the reading. That is chapter 3 on Notes on a Banana. And of course, I did the audiobook, not nearly as dramatic as this, because that was basically over there when I did it at the recording studio. It's more of a narration. This is really kind of a full out performance. Oh, I love it. Thank you. It's difficult to read out loud. You got me smiling. That's good. Listening live. Thank you, Dana. Good. Lori Van Ellen, I love growing up. And Fall River, yes, absolutely wonderful. Bull balancing on my head. Yes, that was me. Thank you. I'm so glad. I hope you liked the book. Trevor, thank you and thank you very much for posting on your banana recipe today. Susan, thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Anyone have any questions? Any comments? I mean, the comments are wonderful coming through. But if you have any thoughts or comments or questions, grazie, enjoyed. I'm going to move this over a little bit so I can see it. My mother was the Polish version of Vineta. Yes, I think every nationality has their own Vineta. That's what we call it. What do the Polish call it, Judith? Do they have a name for that kind of a ballsiness, temper, get it doneness? Have I lost you all? Oh no, there's a light coming through. Good. Barnes & Noble and 5 others just shared your video. Thank you, Barnes & Noble and 5 others. I appreciate you. I don't know how to let you know I appreciate you. Jenny Fields, are you still here? How am I supposed to let them know that I appreciate it? Everyone's coming through. Thank you. I guess this is live, so you're not seeing this. Oh, I don't know. Judith Klinger says, I don't know. I just know I could hear my mother and grandmother discussing at the top volume. Yes, they did. I, Deborah Prado, just missed the reading, but you can, when it gets posted in a few minutes, you can go back and you can watch it. It's so odd. I just expect to hear people. I don't know why. Maybe the next thing for this is that people can actually speak to me. So we have 40 people on still. I don't want to hold you guys too long. I just wanted to give you a little bit of thank you, Glenda Witter. You just joined. Give you a little bit of a taste of the book, a little bit of a break. Also, this is the first, by the way, this is the first day of Mental Health Awareness Month. So although this has not a lot to do with mental illness, except I'm the mental illness one. When I was mental illness, you will be hearing from me with other parts of the book, the noisiest on the block, Susan Gordon, about mental health, and also seeing some tweets and some posts and some Facebook posts on that. Carlotta, thank you. I really appreciate that. So if I appreciate all of this. Will you be doing a book signing from June 11th to 23rd anywhere near NYC? I will be in Waters. No, I won't. Actually, I will be in Florida early June, and then at that point, the 11th to the 23rd, there's no signing. The only thing I have in New York next is next week at the 92nd Street Y, Jennifer. That's the only thing I have left in New York, unless something else comes along. Okay, I don't want to hold you guys too long because we're losing some people here and you have to get back to work or back to your desk or back to your kids. But anyway, want to thank you all. And again, like I said, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. You'll be hearing more from me. I'll do another reading that has more to do with bipolar, and it's a little more dramatic. You're listening to the audiobook as well and sharing your voice with others. Thank you, Glenn. And Trevor, I am really working very hard on coming to California. I really, really am. And so I will talk to you folks soon. Have a great, great afternoon. I thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.